What's up, everyone? Kevin Allen here, aka the Geek from DFS Army. We're getting ready for NFL Week 13. This is your DraftKings first look. All right, it is week 13, and we're taking a look at the DraftKings scoring system, the salaries. Just take a look at how the game's set up for week 13. And as always, before I really want to dive into the player pool, I like to take a look at the game tiles and just get a sense of which games look high scoring. And there are 3 games that really stand out, plus 2 others that are interesting in week 13. So they are very, very clear. And then there's some other spots that we want to take note of for defenses and whatnot. So let's start up at the top here. Let's see where we can find our first game here. There we go. Steelers at the Falcons. 43.5 point total here. Not much excitement for me on this one. Maybe Steelers defense a little bit, but other than that, neither of these teams really have a lot of spots where I want to get down with. Of course, maybe some value spots on the Steelers, but that's about it. Steelers may have lost Najee Harris for a little bit. We'll see. But taking a look at their usage after Najee Harris came out, it was pretty much a 50-50 split between Benny Snell and Anthony McFarland. So, or whatever the hell his name is. So I'm not down with that too much. So that game, not super interesting. Packers at the Bears. Another one where 42.5 point total. This one's gross. There could be some spots on the Packers. It looks like Jordan Love will get the start. Maybe. We'll see. Maybe not. For the Bears, maybe. So here's the deal. Trevor Siemian was terrible. Nathan Peterman is even worse. So if the Bears aren't starting Justin Fields, then I'm very interested in Packers defense here. Some offensive players on the Packers might be like the Bears without Fields could be the worst team in the league right now. And so even the offense of the Packers, as ridiculous as it is, might carry a little bit of interest, even with Love at quarterback. So there we go. But here we go. First sexy game of the slate. Jaguars at the Lions. I like everything about this game. Jaguars at the Lions. 51.5 point total. 1 point road favored Jaguars. Oh my gosh. This setup is spectacular. Trevor Lawrence. He'll burn your food like Florence. He'll run up in your crib like his name was Search Warrants. I'm interested in Trevor Lawrence in this one, as the Lions tend to make opposing quarterbacks have good scores. Travis Etienne goes out, but I'm not really sure if he's going to play, who the real backup is. Jermichael Hasty, Darrell Henderson Jr., there's a lot going on there. Same thing at running back for Detroit. It's kind of weird right now between Jamal Williams and DeAndre Swift, to the point where I don't think I could play either of them confidently. Maybe Swift is a tournament play, but Amon-Ra St. Brown, Christian Kirk start off a dud. Maybe a little, I don't know if I want to go back to Zay after the big week. That feels a little chasey, but maybe flip over to Christian Kirk on that side. So that game is of interest. Jets at Vikings. This is one of those interesting games, much more so on the Jets side. My boy, Mike White, Magic Mike, did it last week. No one else told you to play Mike White, but this guy right here had him 10% in my tournament exposure. He was one of my plays on the sheet last week. He was 1% owned. People, how soon people forget. This Jets team, this Jets offense is actually good. The players are actually good. Just Zach Wilson sucks. I've been saying it all year, and now you see, even with a kind of a C at quarterback, how much better that team looked. Of course, it was against the hapless Chicago Bear defense. They are absolutely awful. So here you're going to get a little bit more of a test for the Jets and the whole Mike White thing, but Garrett Wilson's still a target machine, still super inexpensive. Tyler Conklin, even Elijah Moore. So there's a lot of pieces on this Jets offense that I'm interested in. The biggest one, though, might be the running back. So we'll talk about him. I can't remember his name, but we'll talk about him when we see him. But a practice squad player elevated to the starting lineup. Very interesting on that team. Commanders at the Giants. 40.5 point total. This one's gross. This is just a stay away. I just stay away from that. I'm not interested. Not interested in either side of it. Probably not even interested in the defenses. Maybe Giants defense a little bit, but no, I'd rather have favored defenses. So, not super exciting. Titans at the Eagles. Man, Eagles offense is always in play. This is a 44.5 point total. Not a game I'm going to be targeting purposefully, but maybe a couple of pieces from this game could emerge. Miles Sanders, the big game last week, but probably not going to chase that. Broncos at the Ravens, 38.5 point total. This is an avoid game completely. Browns at the Texans, the return of Deshaun Watson. I think the Browns lean heavy on the run here. Nick Chubb, maybe even so much running goodness that Kareem Hunt gets in there. That's the only thing I can say about that game. Seattle at the Rams. The Rams are a disaster. This might be a scenario where Seattle defense could be in play. As crazy as that might seem, they're not necessarily known for having a high-scoring defense, but the Rams are completely awful offensively right now. So Seattle defense in play. Miami at San Francisco. This game has some sneaky appeal in my mind. Miami's such a good offense. I don't think that the 49ers can hold them down. Now, do I think that elevates to the level of stacking Tua with Tua? I don't know, but I think both sides of this game are sneakily in play, and this will be very under the radar. Now, the last two games on the slate are extremely exciting. I'd say the top game environment on the slate is going to be the Chiefs at the Bengals. Chiefs are 2.5 point road favorites in this one. This game has a 52.5 point total, and both sides love it. Chase comes back for the Bengals this week, and he should be fine. He could have probably played last week, so he should be fine here. Chiefs have some inexpensive pieces at wide receiver that allow us to put lineups together that look really good. Sky Moore, still 3,100, 6 targets last week. What are they doing? Got to raise up his price. Of course, Juju and the rest of them, but Sky Moore is the one that's really interesting for me. I want to kind of see if he got the WR3 snaps last week. We'll know that when we get the snap percentage information in on the matchups sheet over at DFS Army. And finally, we've got the Chargers at the Raiders. Again, these Raiders games seem to pop off every week. Jacobs coming off the monster game. This is going to feel very chasey. Jacobs coming off the monster game. Now he gets essentially what is a bottom 3 rush defense in the league. Oh, man. It's such a setup for Jacobs. And yet, coming off the 54-pointer, I feel it feels very donkeyish to chase it. So we're going to have to see how we feel about that. Obviously, Devontae Adams, also a spectacular play here. Stud off a dud narrative. Always like that. Chargers side, just back to all of the pieces. Herbie, Eckler, Palmer, even Keenan Allen, Everett, the whole group. Everybody's in play. So that does it for the game tiles. And now let's take a look at some of these salaries to see who we can afford, what we can do, and how we can put lineups together. Obviously, this is the biggest part of any week. Value is king. We've got to find the value plays, but we at least know some of the really good spots. So let's go position group by position group. And the goal here will be just kind of talk through each of the position groups, get a sense of which players seem to be popping on price. And then at the end, just for shits and gigs, we'll throw kind of a lineup together. We'll put a lineup together, just a little first look fun lineup here. Nothing too serious, but the key to what we're trying to do with the first look is just take a look at the salaries and kind of talk through some of these players and what we think of them. So starting at the top here, Pat Mahomes is Pat Mahomes, right? Part of that really, really great game of the week. He can be paired up with Sky Moore so that the combo isn't super expensive. Obviously, I like using Travis Kelce in any sort of Pat Mahomes lineup. So, Mahomes, Kelce, Sky Moore, that trio, still very expensive. But when you have a 3K wide receiver that you could throw in the mix, it softens the blow a little bit of the salaries. Jalen Hurts coming off the monster game last week. Not as good of a spot here, I would say, against the Titans in terms of likely to be high scoring. But Jalen Hurts can do it no matter what. He's probably going to get another 25 to 30 fantasy points in this game. Could pass it. But, there's nothing wrong with Jalen Hurts. Always a good play. Lamar Jackson, no. Justin Fields, no. Herbert, yes. Part of that exciting game as well. Herbie, I think was part of the Nuts lineup last week, only because not enough people played Mike White to take the nuts down. But if you watch my video, my weekend review, Mike White to Garrett Wilson was the actual nuts play, and I was able to easily beat the Millie Maker winning score with just 3 clicks on the mouse on the Dom station in backtest mode using Mike White. So it was right there for us. It was right there for us. But Herbert was actually the guy that showed up in the winning lineup, had a really, really good week finally last week, and sets up well again here. Joe Burrow, the opposite side of that KC game, absolutely love him as well. He is one of these quarterbacks that pops off on occasion. He's got all his weapons back, 6,900, really comfortable. Stacking Burrow now with 2 of his pieces. You really got to get him with 2. I don't think that you could play Burrow, Higgins, and Jamar Chase in the same lineup, so do with that what you will. Tua, San Francisco, stackable as well, but not one of the quarterbacks I'm necessarily going to focus on. More of an alternative. Deshaun Watson, I think Cleveland leans on the run to where Deshaun Watson in his first game back might not do enough to matter, but I'm certainly keeping him in mind. Geno, no. No. Against the Rams, not interested. Trevor Lawrence at Detroit. This is an interesting spot, and I think it's very playable, especially Jacksonville might not even have their prime running back, Travis Etienne, in there. So he's very much somebody that we can play here if we want to pay down at the quarterback position. There's a lot of good spots at QB this week, so I don't think there's any one of them is going to get overly chalky. You could pay up for the Burrow, Mahomes, Herbert group, or we could pay down here for Trevor Lawrence and one other that we'll talk about here in a second. Aaron Rodgers, no. Kirk Cousins, no. Jets defense is good. It's not the sharp play to play any sort of quarterbacks against them. Garoppolo, no. Garoppolo, no. Derek Carr, never. Right? Daniel Jones, no. Mariota, no. But our cheapest viable quarterback. Now, one could say Jordan Love might be of interest down here. And I could see it. Again, Chicago, really, really bad. So Jordan Love will be on that fringe. Tannehill, no. Wilson, no. Kenny Pickett, no. Probably Goff, no as well. But my boy Mike White, I can't allow the first look to go by without touting Mike White. Now, I know the game isn't as high scoring as some of these other ones, but the salary and the stackability of Mike White make him very, very exciting for me. And the Jets being without their prime running backs right now, they have to throw the ball. I just see Mike White doing enough at 5,400 to make our first look little lineup. Plus, I don't have that many value plays at wide receiver, so I want to play a lot of studs. So I want to play it a little inexpensive here at the quarterback position in the first look. All right. Let's take a look at the running back position here, top to bottom. And Christian McCaffrey finally looked like he might get the full workload with Elijah Mitchell out, with kind of Deebo Samuel dinged up a little bit. But McCaffrey got the dreaded Q tag. I think he'll be fine. They said a little knee irritation, whatever the hell that means. I think he'll be fine here. 8,600 is a lot to pay, but actually Christian McCaffrey has that kind of upside in this game. So I'm perfectly fine with a CM Sizzles play in tournaments. Austin Eckler has been just solid every single week. I think we'll see more of that here. 8,500 again, high price to pay, but worth it. Saquon Barkley is a no for me. Derrick Henry is a maybe. Derrick Henry, go either way in a game like this. The Eagles are vulnerable to the run, but Tennessee at times they're so obvious that they're going to run that it really becomes difficult against a better defense for them to just be obvious about it and actually smash. So yeah, I like Derrick Henry. He has some upside. Not somebody I'm going to build around per se. Nick Chubb, same deal. I think Nick Chubb this might finally be the time to play Nick Chubb. He's been really good all season, but this is the ultimate spot. So could be a 3 touchdown day for Nick Chubb. They could also have such an easy time that all of a sudden, like I said, Kareem Hunt gets worked in and Chubb doesn't quite get there. Just keep in mind with Chubb, it's not enough for 100 yards and a touchdown, and 100 yards and even 2 touchdowns probably doesn't get the job done. We almost need 3 touchdowns or 150 on the yardage side, because at 8K with no passing game work, we're talking 32 fantasy points, 100 yards, Bonus gets you 103, gets you 13. Add a touchdown, that's 19. Add a second touchdown, that's 20, 25, right? So to get to the 30, you either need the third touchdown or you need about 150 yards. And that just gets you there. So Nick Chubb needs to have he is absolutely priced to a ceiling. Be aware. Dalvin Cook is a no at the Jets. Just not a good spot. He could do fine at 7K, but not a good spot. But my guy for this lineup is going to be Josh Jacobs because the convergence of the game environment, the convergence of opposing defense being terrible, it all adds up to Josh Jacobs. I know it feels chasey and gross, and I don't like it. I'm not saying I like it. It feels very dirty. Feels chasey after the big 56-pointer to go right back to him. Don't care. Going to do it. Right? Continuing on through the running back position, let's go through the whole thing here. Kenny Walker, always good. Seattle favored, but, Rams defense is also decent. I think Walker can pop off in any game. Aaron Jones, definitely have some interest here. I don't normally play Aaron Jones. He doesn't get enough of the work to get me excited, and I'll never feel comfortable playing him based on just the amount of volume that he sees for his price. But it is Chicago. They are a wounded animal, and Jones is going to be in play. Although, like I said, I think they work in A.J. Dillon to the point where neither guy really does enough. Miles Sanders, that is not, I'm not chasing last week on Miles Sanders. That is a no-no, especially in a tougher matchup. David Montgomery getting all the looks, but without the quarterback on that team, the upside is going to be limited. I do like that he's going to get all the volume, though. And if there was no one else, then I'd be interested. So let's see. All right, continuing on down. Wilson Jr., that's a tough matchup at San Francisco. I don't think I'm going there. San Francisco run defense is pretty good. I think Miami does it via the pass in this one. Jamal Williams, no. Can't trust him splitting with Swift. P. Ryan will be not starting, so forget him. Pierce, I like the price, like the matchup. It's tough to trust him. Really is. Isaiah Pacheco, he could be interesting. He'll be in my mix this week. He'll be in the mix. There's no doubt. He's getting all the touches for KC. Don't worry about Melvin Gordon. That's just bullshit. He's getting all the touches for KC at running back, and this is a high-scoring game. He has potential to be mixed in, so he'll be in the mix. Even Swift, I think I'll mix him into my tournaments. This guy has to be getting healthier. It just can't be that he's not getting better. He has to be getting healthier. We haven't seen it, but Swift at some point, they need to get his touches back up to 15 to 17 per game, and he'll smash because his skill set really smashes at that level of volume. But, we haven't seen it, so it's super risky. All right, continuing on down the list. Murray, no. Robinson, I'm not chasing Robinson from last week. Now, here's an interesting one. The Jets running back situation. So Michael Carter got hurt last week, and I think a lot of people are going to think that James Robinson will step in and sort of take over as the lead back. But last week, there it is, Zonovan. Last week, Zonovan Knight was elevated from the practice squad. James Robinson was a healthy scratch, and the team elevated Zonovan Knight to the starting running back position. Zonovan Knight. Now, people might be thinking that all of these touches happened after Carter got hurt, but that was not the case. Zonovan Knight was in there getting touches alongside Carter right off the bat. He was sort of getting the Breece Hall touches. He was getting the early down touches. So Zonovan Knight, I think, is the actual starting running back for the New York Jets right now in a pretty good matchup at Minnesota. So I'm interested in Zonovan Knight. And if we need a salary saver at RB2 or flex, Zonovan Knight is in that mix. At this point, I'm going to leave him in there as what I'm calling the cheapest viable option. All right, let's go through the defense position group as well here, and then we'll jump over to wide receiver and tight end. So defense, I always start at the bottom. I'm not going to go through all these teams, so I'm just kind of look for some of the cheaper viable defenses here. So Titans at Eagles, not super exciting there, although for Stone Min on a week without a lot of good defense plays, maybe. Right? Rams, probably not. Texans, hell no. Bengals, absolutely not. At KC, no, thank you. Denver at Baltimore, no. Raiders, Chargers, no. Miami and San Francisco, no. Miami and San Francisco, no. Jets, no. Steelers, maybe. Bears, no. Lions, no. Giants, eh. So, I mean, finding a cheap, viable defense is tough here. Unfortunately, I think the best one that we're going to find, assuming that Trevor Siemian or one of those types is the quarterback for the Bears, then we can go right to the Packers here. Trevor Siemian just looked really bad last week when I watched the tape, and he was Jets were dropping intercept, like he was just really bad. So I don't think Peterman's any better. As long as Fields remains out, I'm going to target defenses against this Bears team. This is a little more than I like to normally pay for a defense, but it's really one of the only viable ones. Let's just look and see above that salary. Yeah, 49ers, no. Falcons, maybe. Seahawks at 3,600, though, very expensive. And that's about it. So, and maybe Cleveland or Baltimore. So, really, there aren't low price defenses on the slate. So, we're going to have to deal with a pay up option at that position, I think. I don't think we have much choice. All right. Let's jump over to wide receiver. And since I started this one with Mike White, I just want to plug in Garrett Wilson. I'll mention that Wilson, is a prime target, 8 targets last week. Obviously at 4,300, it was wonderful. Last week, we really got a bargain on him, but I think we can plug him in here. If we're going to use Mike White, I think we pretty much have to use Garrett Wilson in a lineup like this. So I'm just going to plug him in there. One of the bargain players that I had also mentioned earlier is Sky Moore. And I'm just going to pop him in this lineup as well because I want to have some salary to spread around. I might pull out Zonovan here and upgrade that running back position if I can. I like Zonovan, but I don't necessarily love him. I don't mind that he's paired with Mike White as quarterback at all. I actually think it's fine. I know it's weird, but I think it's fine. But this really isn't about. It's more about just finding some viable options that can save us some salary so we can spread around the studs. If I was sitting here telling you to play Jefferson, Hill, or Devontae, yeah, I like those guys. Like, they're always good. That being said, let's just take a look at the overall wide receiver position group. And Jefferson, yeah, tough matchup at the Jets. Jets have an elite cornerback in Sauce Gardner, but I think Jefferson is better than the best cornerback, so he's fine to play. But just keep it, that keeps the upside maybe a little bit capped. Not crazy, but maybe a little bit just because the Jets do have a good defensive back that could probably do a decent enough job of slowing Jefferson down. Tyreek Hill, always a good spot. Don't know about this Q tag. Got to look into it, but in general, Tyreek is always great. I think Devontae or Josh Jacobs pretty much should be in almost every lineup, one or the other. If we have Josh Jacobs in this one, probably wouldn't put Devontae in it. But if it wasn't a Josh Jacobs lineup, I probably would use Devontae there because this game just looks like it's going to explode. And it's a game I want a piece of in pretty much every lineup. Jamar Chase, somebody I definitely want in my Burrow lineups and in my KC lineups as a bring back. So a build around piece that has a lot of upside. I have a lot of season-long exposure to Jamar Chase, so I hope that he makes a strong comeback really quick because, the playoffs are right around the corner, and I actually made the playoffs in some leagues with Chase in them, and I need him back, though. I squeak in with 5th or 6th place because when your first rounder goes down, it's always tricky to make the fantasy playoffs. So we'll see how that goes. A.J. Brown, a good spot here against Tennessee. This is a team you want to take pass catchers against, so he'll be in my mix. Waddle as well. Higgins is that alternate off of Chase. I don't think you play them both, but Higgins or Chase in build arounds for this game. Let me just put this out there. Whenever I'm building around a game a lot, like that KC Cincinnati game, I try to contain the pieces from that game to those build arounds. I'll have Burrow lineups. I'll have Mahomes lineups all built around that one game. So there's no real reason to also use Higgins or Chase or these other players in lineups that don't build around that game, because if it chalk explodes, let it ruin those lineups that have Burrow or Mahomes at the helm rather than all of my lineups. Now, one universal yes this week for me is Amon-Ra St. Brown. Love him. Love this game environment as well. But the nice thing about Amon-Ra is that Detroit passing offense is very, very, very focused, where the targets seem to only go to one guy, and that's Amon-Ra. So I'll keep going to that. Especially they don't have Hawkins anymore. They don't have any real competition for Amon-Ra in terms of receptions. I like that spot. I like that situation. So Amon-Ra is going to be a core piece for me, I think, this week. I love that game. I love that game environment. I like the other sides of it as well. Christian Kirk. Well, let's keep on going here, but we're right there with this. Here we go. Yeah, Metcalf, not really. Samuel, maybe. Keenan Allen, sure. Keenan Allen's one of these guys, though. He's never, like, the higher his salary goes, the less I'm interested. He just does not have a lot of 20-plus point games with Herbert. I mean, let's keep it real. They've been together for a few years, and he hasn't really passed like 23 or 24 points, but once or twice over the course of those years. So he's really, the nice thing about Keenan Allen is he usually gets you 15. Like, he's a high floor, low ceiling kind of play. Amari Cooper, I don't think they're going to need that much Amari Cooper in this spot, so can't get too excited there. I do like Christian Kirk. Again, stud off a dud narrative. Christian Kirk has as much upside as anybody. I absolutely love him, actually. I almost don't mind putting him in the flex in a lineup like this, and let's see what was left. If we can get to Kelsey. Can't, but in general, I really love Christian Kirk this week, so keep him in mind as well. He's somebody I will have a ton of. Devonta Smith, really just a pair with Hurts piece. Brandon Ayuk, maybe just build around for those games. I usually don't play Ayuk just ever. McLaurin, not super exciting. Schuster, fine. Again, piece of that game. Juju Smith-Schuster is not locked in to getting a ton of targets on a week-to-week basis. 3 targets last week. Again, Sky Moore got us 6 targets for half the price. So, do with that what you will. Lazard, no. Tyler Boyd, I like they brought his salary back down for the return of, that's a good thing, for the return of Jamar Chase. They did the right thing and leaves Tyler Boyd playable, but not a good play, but playable in this exciting matchup. Deontay Johnson, probably no. I have some interest in Christian Watson. Even with Jordan Love at the helm, I think Christian Watson is kind of proof. And George Pickens. These two rookies are both looking spectacular. So Christian Watson and George Pickens, I am down with either one of these. I think they're both playable. Pickens, rougher because they just don't throw that much in Pittsburgh right now. And he's so good, Pickens, but he needs the quarterback to improve a little bit for me to have any kind of confidence in him. But I like both of these guys, but I'm not excited about their quarterback this week. Just rolling through some of these other plays. Yeah, Zay Jones feels a little chasey, priced up here. Trey Burks might be playable at 4,600. I don't mind that. Treylon Burks, though, did get lucky a little bit, falling on that touchdown to sort of make value last week. But he still is the WR1 for his team. So definitely in the mix. Matt Collins, all right. Who are we playing in the cheap zone this week? Yeah, Valdez-Scantling. He's also playable. 5 targets last week. I kind of think Sky Moore's the better play for cheaper. But we'll take a look at those snap counts to see. Demarcus Robinson, no. Khalif Raymond, no. DeAndre Carter, man. If Mike Williams is out again, then DeAndre Carter would be interesting. Continuing down, Elijah Moore might be somebody to take a look at. Only the 2 targets last week. Yeah. No, that's about it. So that covers the wide receiver position for us. And like I said, we found some core plays. I really like Amon-Ra, really like Christian Kirk. Of course, Adams, if we're not using Jacobs. A lot of good plays at wide receiver this week. And Sky Moore opens things up in your lineups for some extra salary relief. All right, let's take a look at the tight end position, and then we'll try to finish this thing off with a flex play. So at the very, very top, Travis Kelce, 7,900. I'm down with Kelce. Kelce just puts up, usually he's going to average about 25 fantasy points. He's playing for 32. which, gives you 3x the tight end position. Tight end is tricky. So I don't mind if we can find the value, like with the Sky Moore situation. The negative is I don't love, obviously, this should be like a Mahomes or Burrow type lineup where it's built around that game. But I really like Travis Kelce. I don't mind going back to Andrews, although this game environment is not super sexy. I like that the salary has come down. And people forget, like, Andrews was really consistent last year. Same offense. I just think it just hasn't quite come together. It will. He's going to start having those big games, and then we'll chase him. But the lower the ownership, the more I want to play him. TJ Hawkinson, you know what? I really like him in this specific lineup. I'm going to tell you why. He gives us the bring back on the Mike White play. So we've already got some pieces from the Jets in this lineup. TJ Hawkinson has been getting 6 to 10 targets per game. He definitely gets a lot of looks in this offense. They like throwing to the tight end position, and the Jets will actually cover really well on the outside against a player like Justin Jefferson, which should push more to the tight end position. Jets are also really good against the run, which should be able to slow down Dalvin Cook. So I like TJ Hawkinson quite a bit. Continuing on through the tight end position, Gerald Everett is fine. David Njoku, not in love with the spot. Cole Kmet, no. Freiermuth, meh. Higbee, meh. Foster Moreau, meh. I mean, Hayden Hurst could probably be used here at 3,500 in this exciting game, Cincinnati. So Hurst will be in the mix. Dulcich, meh. Gesicki, meh. Tunyon, no. So, I mean, we're eliminating a lot of players here. The one next guy that I like is Tyler Conklin. Tyler fucking Conklin. Again, this Jets game probably has some underpriced pass catchers. These pass catchers are priced as if Zach Wilson is the fucking quarterback. He sucks. So keep it in mind. Anybody else? Not really. So, I mean, if I wanted to add some more salary and kind of get a little different with this lineup, I like the idea of going Conklin, right? Now, we've created enough salary that I can get off the Zonovan Knight play and hopefully try to squeeze in a couple of better, maybe not better. We want to call them more blue chip running back spots. Let's see if we can find one. I mean, one of the spots I really like is Joe Mixon. I do think that Joe Mixon may lose some work to Samaje Perine, because Samaje Perine looked really good. And I saw this last time Mixon came back from injury and Perine had like this big game, and then they kind of mixed them in a little bit more. It's like, hey, let's reward Samaje for having this great game. I'm just looking through the running back position to see if anybody else really screams, I need to play him. Running back is kind of weird this week. I'd love to get to Eckler. There we go. So Jacobs and Eckler, that does work. I like this game. I like this game environment. I don't normally like to play a ping pong of running backs in the same game, but I kind of like where this leads me at flex, where I can get Christian Kirk as a correlative bounce back off of Amon-Ra St. Brown. So check out all the correlation in this line. I really love this lineup. It's crazy good. So the only piece, maybe we're missing a piece from the Vikings, and I didn't mind the version that uses Hawkinson instead of Conklin as well. Then the Hawkinson version, we had the cheaper running back, and then we can load up on a really studly wide receiver here in the final spot. But a couple different ways to approach it. But for this one, we got Mike White, Garrett Wilson, Tyler Conklin, triple stack. A little ping pong effect between Josh Jacobs and Austin Eckler. Okay. Sky Moore, I think, is the value of the slate. The best value on this slate is Sky Moore, 3,100, 6 targets, part of this amazing game. Then we got Amon-Ra and Christian Kirk in a little ping pong action in that game, and bring it all around with Packers at Chicago. We can actually spend a little more on defense, but I don't think we can get better than this Packers play, assuming that Chicago starts Trevor Siemian or Peterman or one of those turds. So there you have it. DraftKings NFL Week 13 first look. Remember, if you want to more of this type of content, make sure you're subscribed to this channel. Hit the like button if you appreciate what we did. Who would you build your quarterbacks around, build your lineup around this week? Let me know your favorite QB wide receiver stacks. And if you hit the nuts stack, we'll call you out on the next first look. Remember to subscribe to the channel. And if you want to check out DFS Army, we are going strong, taking down tournaments on the regular. Make sure you check out the Week 12 weekend review video I put out, which went over how Bengal Tiger, DFS Army subscriber Bengal Tiger, used the Domination Station optimizer to take second in the Millie Maker and a 100K prize this past week. It's awesome. I use the Dom Station. I actually just throw a couple settings in there in backtest mode, and with 2 or 3 runs, we're actually able to beat that score and put up what would have easily taken down the Millie Maker. And you see how easy it would have been to do it. Hindsight being 2020, but make sure you check it out. And we'll be back later in the week with the game plan, tournament tactics, and all of our DFS content. We'll see you guys next time.